The Apollo program was designed to put man on the moon and bring them safely back to Earth. The program lasted from 1963 to 1972. By the end of the 17 missions, there was a wealth of data and around 400 kilograms of lunar samples. On January 27, 1967, in Cape Canaveral, the Apollo 1, also known as Apollo 204, tragedy occurred. This mission was supposed to be the first crewed lunar launch. This would have happened on February 21, 1967. During the pre-flight test, the command module caught fire, killing Virgil Grissom, Edward White, and Roger Chafe. From this point on, all launches were suspended until Apollo 4 occurred. Apollo 4 occurred on November 9, 1967, at the Kennedy Space Center. It was an unmanned mission to test the 3 stages of the Saturn V rocket. Some of the mission objectives including the testing of structural integrity, compatibility to launch, heat shield and thermal shield integrity, and launch vehicle systems. This mission was deemed a successful test, landing 8 hours after it took off. Apollo 5 was test flight of the lunar module. This mission was made to test the ascent and descent stages, the propulsion systems, the restart operations, and to evaluate the spacecraft's structure and orbital performance. The launch took place on January 22, 1968, at Cape Canaveral, Florida, and landed 11 hours and 10 minutes after takeoff. On April 4, 1969, in Cape Canaveral, Florida, Apollo 6 launched. This mission was designed to be the final test of the Saturn V launch vehicle. Unfortunately, this mission was filled with problems. At launch, pogo oscillation, or self-excited combustion, in the fuel engines ruptured the fuel lines in the J2 engines. Then the guidance system shut down 2 second stage engines early, which caused performance of the third engine to operate badly. Even with all these failures, it was enough to convince NASA to use it for manned missions. Apollo 7 was the first manned mission to go into space. It launched on October 11, 1968. The crew included Walter M. Schirra, Don F. Eisel, and Walter Cunningham. Apollo 7 orbited 163 times around Earth, taking 10 days and 20 hours. Apollo 8 was the first manned mission to go to the moon and back. It launched on December 21, 1968, at 7:50 a.m. from Cape Kennedy, Florida, and landed in the Pacific Ocean on December 27. The 3 men that were a part of this mission were Frank Borman, James Lovell, and William Arders. The purpose of this mission was to test the Apollo system to ensure we could get man to the moon and back. The next mission was Apollo 9. The main objective of this mission was to evaluate crew operations of the lunar module and demonstrate docked vehicle functions. The crew included James McDivitt, David Scott, and Russell Schwarzkart. Apollo 9 launched from Cape Kennedy, Florida, March 3, 1969. It landed on March 13, 1969 in the Atlantic Ocean. Apollo 10 was the 4th manned Apollo launch. This mission tested all aspects of lunar landing exactly how they would be performed, except on this mission, they didn't actually land. It launched on May 18, 1969, from Cape Kennedy at 11:49 a.m. While orbiting the moon, astronauts Eugene A. Cernan, Thomas P. Stafford, and John W. Young collected hundreds of still photographs. This mission also was televised in color. Apollo 10 landed in the Pacific Ocean on May 26, 1969. Aboard the spacecraft was Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, and Buzz Aldrin. This mission was designed to get man on the moon and to retrieve lunar body samples for the first time. On July 20, 1969, the spacecraft landed on the moon at 4:17 p.m. The first step on the moon occurred at 10:56 p.m. and was performed by Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. After collecting samples, Armstrong and Aldrin placed the United States flag on the moon. After removing the flag, they returned to Earth on July 24th in the Pacific Ocean. Apollo 12 was the second lunar landing mission to occur. The object was to collect lunar rock samples and obtain photographs of possible exploration sites. It launched on November 14, 1969, from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The crew included Charles Conrad, Jr., Richard Gordon, and Alan Bean. Lunar landing occurred on November 19th at 1:54 a.m., and they departed on November 20 at 9:25 a.m. The spacecraft landed in the Pacific Ocean at 3:58 p.m. on November 24, 1964.